What up, guys? This is Versus Z back with another video review for Rider Fest Week 1, and right now we're going to be looking at S.I.C. Volume number 13, Kuuga, Kamen Rider or Masked Rider Kuuga. Some people will call this the Kamen Rider Rising Cougar set, but I'll show you otherwise, because you can actually go ahead and get normal Kuuga out of this. So you can get a total of 4 forms rather than the advertised 3 that you can get. So typically I start off with the box, but let me just explain a little bit about some of the details here. This figure came out, or this set came out back in the year 2000, so you can already imagine this. You can not even imagine, you already know that this figure or this set is already long discontinued. It also retails for 3,500 yen. So with that, starting off with the front of the box, this is the I don't know why it says Hero Saga there. I haven't done enough research on this particular set to want to like basically figure out every single detail of this box or the set. I just have it. But anyway, this is S.I.C. Volume 13. Just a quick note of the size of the box, and basically a lot of other S.I.C. boxes. If you go out shopping right now, let's say if you're looking for Hunt for the Decepticons Voyager class figures, let me just tell you this box is quite bigger than that box. Quite bigger than the box of the Hunt for the Decepticon Voyager classes. So you can already imagine the size of the height of these particular figures. They may not be as tall as some other figures out there, but they are definitely they're definitely up there. They're pretty big. They're pretty not big, but they're pretty tall figures. Very detailed figures. So if you collect NECA figures or anything of the like, S.I.C. is another line you might want to look into, especially if you're into Kamen Rider. Kamen Rider is not even the only series that S.I.C. covers, but if you guys would like more information, click on the link up there to Giltar's introduction to the S.I.C. line. He also has an introduction to the S.H. Figure Arts line, and I'll provide the link up there. So check those out. Check those videos out from Giltar. Some of the videos that he provided for Week 1 of Rider Fest. It'll definitely help you guys out for those of you who are not familiar with S.I.C. or S.H. Figure Arts. So do check that out. Quick size comparison to a 1:100 scale model kit. Yeah. So you do get Rising Mighty Cougar out of this set, and that's the figure that comes packaged. The figure comes packaged in the Rising Cougar form. You can also have the opportunity to swap parts and get the growing form, which is basically Kuga's most basic form, and then Kuga's arguably final form, the Kuuga Ultimate form, which looks really badass in S.I.C. design. Some rear shots of the same forms. Whether front or back, Kuuga Ultimate just looks straight up badass. Bandai, some seals, and there it is, 3,500 yen. That year 2000, I'm not sure what this exactly means. Maybe it's saying the original date of the original release. And there it is, by Bandai. To my understanding, this was a re-release version. But whether my information is wrong, or whether what I'm saying is wrong, right here, Bandai 2007, made in China. That's the official date for this package. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is Kuuga in his, I don't know, form. I guess it's his shell, or the basis of what you guys will be working with. It's very anorexic, but very organic looking. It's just hideously detailed in a very good way. Alright, let's put some clothes on him. Typically I'd start off by talking about the figure's details and articulation and whatnot, but I think with this time around, and probably from now on, I'm going to start talking about the accessories first. So if you're wondering why the box is so big and wide, well, after getting what, 3 or 4 plastic layers, some tape, cutting off some tape and some wiring off, then yeah, you get this much of accessories. Yeah, so this is where Kuuga would normally lie, and you get 2 henshin belts there, 2 different forms of the henshin belt. There are 3 in total, one for Rising Mighty Cougar. Here are the growing form parts, the Ultimate Cougar parts, some of them. Here are the mini hands you get, so you basically get 2 of each, or 2 for each form. You get some fists and some splayed out hands, so a total of 8 hands, pretty much. No, 12 sets of hands, I believe. Yeah, 12 sets of hands. This is an alternate shin, a leg, for I don't know what reason. Oh yeah, because with Rising Mighty you get that, but because you get this plain leg, you can technically get normal Mighty. So there's pretty much 4 forms in this one set. Here's some more ultimate Kuuga forms. There's his ultimate shoulders, his ultimate arms, his other arms, and his ultimate butt. Yep, so you can already imagine there's a whole bunch of part swapping involved here. Yeah, let's get those clothes on you, bro. Before I continue, I just want to let you guys know that I'm not going to show you guys exactly how the different parts swap in and out. There are 3 and 4 different forms that I've got to cover, and to prevent time and some patience, I'm not going to show you guys how to swap every single part in and out. So with that, I'm just going to start off bare with this shell, and I'll show you guys how to place the different parts on using the Rising Mighty form. Alright, starting off with the lower half of the body, well, at least the legs. If you ever want to switch, or if you ever need to switch between Rising Mighty, or to Mighty, or to Growing, or to Ultimate Kuuga, you're provided with the extra leg here, and it's pretty much easy to do. It could be tedious sometimes, but easy to do, since everything else in his body except for the torso area is connected through ball joints, sometimes double ball joints, like here in the and behind the legs. Then, you know, like I said, it's easy enough, but you know, tedious sometimes. So you just pop the leg off, pop the foot off, put this one back in. See, there's these 2 sockets for both ball joints. Pop that one in, pop his foot in, and it's pretty much easy as that. Next is his driver belt, which is very detailed. I think it's die cast, I'm not sure, but you got a nice clear part right there and nice very detailed sculpt of the belt. And there are 3 pegs right behind it. You take his torso and there's 3 pegs there, and you just fit it on just like that. Easy enough. You gotta notice the difference between the 3 different belts. This one on the bottom is the Growing form, so it looks a little bit more basic, less tribal looking lines. This one, it would be Ultimate Kuuga's, which is exactly the same as normal Kuuga's, except it's got a different colored centerpiece, and the belt itself is more of a silver tone rather than a golden tone for the normal one. Very nicely detailed too. When you want to swap out the arms, same idea. Pop off the arms, pop off the wrist, switch it up with the way you like it. There you go. Now, putting on the shoulder armors are pretty easy. You just take the piece, make sure it wraps around and contours and hugs around the shoulders. Otherwise, it's just going to stay there and you can knock it off and it'll just fall off so easily. It does wrap around very well. You just have to make sure everything's tight and snug. Getting his body armor on, and look at this, is very detailed. I like that paint app and the attention to detail around the trim there. So it's basically like a shirt. It looks really nice, I swear. But anyway, it requires you to pop his head off, and God, that looks so hideous and cool at the same time. Anyway, you pop his head off, you take it around his body, wrap it around, and then there are these 2 pegs on the inner side. He's got to close it in, and everything should be secure, so it fits in basically like a coat. When you get a shirt on, you get this effect, and I like that. Kind of looks like brown wood grain or something. I really can't get enough of this. Now for the head. For each form, you get 2 different pieces. You get his bottom jaw, the mouthpiece, and then the eyes, and they'll plug into these. With Mighty form, you get this, so it's, you know, looks protruded out like that. Put it in right here, and then there are these 2 pegs on the inner side right there, and you basically just take the mouthpiece and plug it in there, and you're set. Now this is Rising Kuuga's head, Rising Mighty Kuuga's head. Why are the 2 pieces separate? Because you get to do this. That's cool. Note the differences between the different forms. You got Growing form, which looks very simple, very clean, short on the horns right there. Even his mouthpiece is very simple. And then you got Ultimate Kuuga with way more emphasis on his crest. You even got his fangs are even more protruded, and on the bottom part, his little jaw piece here is even more detailed, more sharper looking. So I like how the designers actually took the time to differentiate the different forms in their own little way. So when you get the chance to get all the pieces on the right way, in whichever form you like, this is the overall effect you get. This being Rising Mighty. And yeah, he looks very anorexic and everything, but I think it works out fine. You've got an organic looking design and very insect-like. I think it all works out. Pardon the shadow. Alright, now I can talk about articulation. Now, you guys already know there's ball joints here and there everywhere. Let me just point them out for you. You got a ball joint here on the head, and you also have a secondary ball joint at the bottom of the neck. You have ball jointed shoulders, ball jointed elbows. You have a hinge at the top part of the torso. And you also have a secondary ball joint here at the lower part around his waist. Ball jointed hips, double ball jointed knees, and ball jointed ankles. Now, why am I not showing you guys the actual articulation? Let's start off with this. His elbow, believe it or not, that's as far as you can bend it. You can rotate it, twist it, and everything, but because of the sculpt, because of the way things, and there goes the armor right there, because of the way things are molded, it's just, that's about as much as you're going to get. And it's even worse when you have the Ultimate Couga parts on. The wrist, pretty free moving, so that's fine. Pretty much the only good point of articulation on this figure would be in the torso. You got the hips, which are nice. They're not too bad. They can go about that far. They can go that far back until his super firm butt cheeks get in the way. And then you have a knee bend, which is relatively 90 degrees. I mean, you've got two ball joints, but I mean, what's the use? It's just how everything is sculpted, and just how everything is just. I would like to say molded, but I think sculpted or sculpting is a better word to use, especially for this type of figure. S.I.C really focuses, especially on the earlier ones. This is volume 13. And like I said, if you go visit Giltar's channel and his explanation of S.I.C, you'll understand where I'm coming from. But since this is an early release volume, it suffers from the figure being more or less a posable statue. And that's a huge knock against this figure. Now, it's pretty much the same if you get him in growing form, the white armor form. Same amount of articulation and all that, but with Kuuga Ultimate, it's pretty much the same, if not a little bit hindered here and there. With the lacking in articulation, I mean, I guess it really is up to you to decide on whether that lack of articulation is worth sacrifice when what makes up for it is pretty much the sculpt and the amazing detail this figure has. And to be honest, I think it shows more when you put him in the Ultimate Couga form. So speaking of the different forms, I'm going to go ahead and switch this guy into his growing form so we can talk about that. And here's just a quick look at Kuga's growing form. As you can see, his crest there doesn't so protrude. He's just plain white, and there's no grungy on the top of his fists. Grungy being the characters, the symbols, all that you find around Kuga's armor, his fists, under his foot, and it's basically the language that the creatures in the Couga universe speak, and the type of creatures they are. They're called the grungy. But anyway, it's interesting that they chose to do white, and I like that there's it's rather not white, but more like a very light gray. And I like their approach to this because with the fact that it's, you know, larva-ish, you know, larva being white or creamy colored, and you know, they went ahead and incorporated that with the Couga growing form. So I like how this turned out. I don't normally pose this figure in the growing form, but it looks really nice. Forgot to mention, although there's a whole bunch of part swapping involved and it does get tedious, the more you do it, the more you get used to it, and the more you know how to approach things. It really didn't take me all that long to switch from the Rising Mighty form to get to growing form. But that's a good thing, it sounds like, but that's also a bad thing because it shows signs that some of the joints are wearing down, and already right now I'm noticing a lot of wear on the especially on the lower half of the body, which is very unfortunate. So sometimes you might have to, and you might eventually have to resort to using like a Tamashii stage act to keep this guy straight up, which does suck. And there he is finally, Kuuga in his SIC ultimate form. Man, that looks mean. And here's a quick size and I guess style comparison between both the SH Figuarts version and the SIC version of Ultimate Couga. Obviously they're the very same characters, but they look completely different, and I think this is a very helpful comparison because you get to see the difference between the style that SH Figuarts takes versus the style that SIC takes. The size comparison is to show you the height differences here, but keep in mind SH Figuarts Ultimate Couga is actually one of the taller SIC releases out there, I believe, and this SIC version here, I don't think there's a scale that they do, a particular scale they do, but they all seem to be the same size. which is about 6 to 7 inches. So that is your comparison there. I mean, you can totally see the different styles. SH Figure likes to be screen accurate, while SIC likes to be more, I guess, high-end, detail friendly. Now, getting this particular figure into his SIC Ultimate Kuuga form wasn't all that hard. I mean, after a few times of already doing it, it's not that hard, but the first time it gets a little tedious because you notice that he actually grown a bit, size-wise. He's a little bit more bulkier. He's not so anorexic anymore, and that's all thanks to the different armors that you got to add on. Now, there's part swapping involved, just like all the other forms, but there's also you got to wrap these different armors around. Like on the shin, on his legs, you got to wrap that around. His thighs, you got to wrap that around. They're all made of the same material that's used for the chest, except they're a little thinner. So soft plastic, I guess, or soft rubber, and they all just wrap around. Not the very best secure way to go about doing this, but I mean, it gets the job done, and you get a much better look, more beefier look, and something that I think truly defines Ultimate Kuuga in this particular set. I really want to point this particular area out, his back. The differences between this version of Ultimate Kuuga and the SH Figure version, or should I say the more accurate version, is that his spikes on the shoulders aren't so protruded, which looks cool, looks awesome. I mean, for this style of design, I think it makes perfect sense. But also, most notably, I like how they added a higher collar look. Now, the thing with the high collar look is just the idea behind it. Usually, when you have a character with a high collar like so, it usually means they have a high power, or high authority, or just someone of great importance. And I like how they went ahead and did that, because since this is Kuuga's technically final and ultimate form, I like how they decided to show that by adding a high collar here. An example, I guess, if you look at Gundam, Destiny would be one of those mobile suits that have a high collar like that. There's Death Scythe, I believe it is. Plenty of Gundam models that you could look at that have a high collar, and you just know that they're powerful. They really mean something. So I just really like this little design aspect they put here to incorporate that into Ultimate Kuuga. And yes, of course, it's expected. You add more armor, the less articulation you get, and that's no exception with this particular figure. Yeah, I know this is more of an Exceed Gills or even a Kiva style pose, but I mean, Tamashii stage act, guys, it'll help a lot. Unfortunately, the amount of articulation that's given is not enough for you to get a proper rider kick looking pose. I mean, you could do a drop kick style pose, which is also another possible Ultimate Kuuga style rider kick, the kind of kick that can destroy the world in one kick. But like I said, we don't know what that looks like, so I mean, it could be a single fly in the air with one leg, or a drop kick style kick, or like a double Cyclone Joker style kick. You never know. You don't really know. We never saw it. So pretty much it just leaves you to your imagination, and of course, if you don't have one of those, then this is just gonna suck even worse. Alright, so now time for my final thoughts of this figure, and I've got to say, I can't recommend this at all. That there are too many cons that overweigh the pros that I can think of for this particular set, and the only pros I can think of really are just the fact that you can switch between 3 forms, technically 4, and that each and every form, no matter what you take, you get a very detailed looking figure. And that's pretty much it, unfortunately. The ball joints that this figure has all over the body are a nice idea, although it feels like in different cases where you got ball joints that are incorporated into a body, it feels like the body was incorporated around the ball joints. So if you get what that means. So it just doesn't work out very well. I mean, you've got the ball joints on the ankles and they work fine, and on the wrist they work fine. On the shoulders, not so much. This arm here is actually starting to get loose, and the ball joints are made of pretty much the same plastic as the entire figure, so it's not a very good thing. I mean, if they're different material, like a different plastic, it might help a little bit, but I'm not sure how much. And just the fact that a lot of things just fall off way too often, especially once you get your Kuuga in the ultimate form. You've got parts that'll fall off, like the armor on his arms. Even these might fall off. Heck, even this one might fall off. I think it's just quality control issues with the, I guess the material used, or let me just be honest, quality control's issue with the figure in general. There's just so many. The ball joints just don't work out very well. I'm going to repeat that many times over. The ball joints don't work very well at all. And that really hurts the figure. I mean, the design enough looks real cool, but at 3,500 yen, which is basically 40 US dollars, I think you can get a much better figure. I mean, especially with the fact that 40 US dollars is as much as the newer SH Figure Arts releases. That's pretty much how much they cost nowadays, so you might have better luck, especially with the SH Figure Arts version of Ultimate Kuuga. I cannot recommend this figure at all. Basically, if you're a die-hard must-have this set because you love Kuuga so much fan, then by all means try and find it. It's already unfortunate that since it's the growing form, Rising Mighty, and Mighty form, and the Ultimate Kuuga form, you don't get any accessories except for a whole bunch of hands. There is a set similar to this where you do get the accessorized versions, the Pegasus, Titan, and Dragon. Well, I'm not sure if it's all three, but there's a set out there available for the different forms, which I'm thinking is around the same price. But I'm also thinking is around the same rarity of this figure. This figure has been long discontinued. I found this one by luck and also got it for 40 bucks by luck. The guy was selling it for like $54. I honestly, if it wasn't for the $40 that he brought it down to, I probably wouldn't have bought this. And I cannot recommend you guys buy this figure at all anyway, unless you get it for $40 or less. Anything higher than that, don't even bother. It's not worth it. So unless you're, like I said, unless you're a diehard Kuuga fan, you must have this, go ahead and get it. But in general, I can't recommend it at all. It looks nice and all, and unfortunately I'm just going to have to use it as a display piece. He does look nice, though, with the rest of your NECA figures. That's not so bad of a look now, is it? But it's still just not enough for me to say, go out and get it. If you really must have Ultimate Kuuga, my only recommendation for you is SH Figure Arts. If you really want to have a Rising Mighty or Mighty, SH Figure Arts. If you really want a growing form, SH Figure Arts did release a Tamashii Web limited release version of it, but I don't know if you can still find it around. But I just can't recommend this to anyone really. There is though an SIC version, a new release version with the new joints and new built joints and everything. An SIC Couga Decayed version coming out in December, I believe. So for those of you who have this or want to be interested in a Couga, SIC Couga, that might be the one for you. It's much more posable. It's going to use the new sculpt, the new joints, so that might be a much more enjoyable experience than this one. I mean, I can honestly tell you, if you pose this figure, knock it down with something, and it falls, it's going to fall into pieces. I kid you not. So I can't recommend this figure. Final score would have to be a 6 out of 10. It's most of that which comes from its design and everything, and just the sculpt, and it really looks nice, and it's a nice big figure, and it comes with a lot. It comes with plenty for you to have 3 different forms in one. But those other 4 points it's just really lacking. It was fine the first time, but if you move this around way too much, then your age really starts to kick in with this thing. So there you go, 6 out of 10. I think if it wasn't for me getting this for 40 bucks, I'd probably give it a 5 or 4 out of 10. It's just, I don't know. If you guys find this for retail, or even retail being $35, if you find it for $35, then give it a try. But one more time, I'll end it here. I don't recommend it. So, I hope to see you guys later. Hope you found this review a little helpful for any of you who are curious about this particular set. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Enjoy the rest of Riderfest.